And there is my tin of filtered oil. Can't really see it, but it's all nice. No dirt, no grime. So now I'll fill up the engine. And I know I don't have that cover there, so don't tell me. And yep, now I'll fill it up and try to give it a run. Hey guys, well I put all this together and started it, or tried to, and it would only kick over about once, twice, 5 times, and then it wouldn't do anything else. So it was sparking when it was outside the engine, but I noticed sometimes it didn't spark when it was outside the engine. It only spark every couple of times, which I thought never really occurred to me. And then, so I thought, well, it's probably the spark, because it has a spark, but it only has a weak spark, not strong enough to explode the fuel. So I took the flywheel off, and I've come to the points here. Now, if you've never done this before, basically all you do is you take off the starter clutch. I do mine really crappy way. I get a flathead and smack it, which I know I shouldn't do, but I'm going to get a starter clutch remover soon, but not just at the moment. So when you take that off, you can just take the flywheel off. I've made up a sort of flywheel remover type thing, which is just this. So I just get this behind it and pry it, which works pretty well. And if you don't do that, you can just lightly tap it with a hammer behind it on this side. You shouldn't tap it. Don't smack it. Just just a little like that, because you don't want to damage the flywheel. So once you've done that, you can take off this cover here, and then you get to the points. Now I know my problem, because I'm not sure if you can see it. The camera is not very good, but there's a slight little gap. It's probably just the size of a piece of paper, and that's on spark. And what these points do, they open and close. I've done this before in a video, but if you've only watched my newer videos, you wouldn't know this. So, these points open and close. So you can see now that's opened. Try to get it back to. So that's opened. I don't know if you can see it. And that's closed, but the closed isn't closed enough, which means it's got rust on it, because that occurs sometimes. There's a little hole here. When it rains, it might get in there, or it just might be rust because of oxidation. So what you do is you get a bit of sandpaper. You should use fine grit sandpaper, but I don't have any. I'll try to find a bit of finer grit sandpaper, but I don't think I have any on me. No, that's not really. Well, that's slightly finer. Sort of used on my sandpaper. So what you do is rip off a little bit. Bear with me, guys. So just rip off a little bit of a square of sandpaper, and what you do is I can't really do this one-handed, but you pull up this, you'll be able to pull it up. So yeah, just pull it up. It's just on a spring. You can take the spring out if you want, and then you just jam the sandpaper between it, and you can fold the sandpaper and just put it up, and then go down between it and sand it. And that'll sand off the rust, and that should close it better, which will then give me a bigger spark. So I'll try that, and then I'll just put it all back together and see if it goes. Because I don't really want to make a video of the whole assembly again. So yeah, that's about it. So I'll do that and see if that works. Hey guys, I'm trying to run this, and it's just been firing once, twice, and then not going. And I thought it would have been the spark, so I cleaned the points, and it sort of helped, but not really. So I've come to the conclusion that it is my sealing problem. I didn't know if I said this in the last video, but it's sort of, got a bit of play in it. I think that bearing in there is gone. I don't know if you can see it. So yeah, so I'm going to try to transfer it all to the 2.5 and see if the crank goes in there good and doesn't have any play, because I think it's just losing pressure, out of this seal here because there's a bit of oil coming out. So yeah, I think it's just losing pressure. And also the magneto on here is pretty dodgy. Like, I think the person that had it before me is trying to do some repairs, and I think he screwed it up a bit. So rather than just taking the magneto off and, you know, soldering and all that crap, I'll just use that one, because I know that magneto is good because I've used this engine before. So hopefully this this crank fits in there good, and then I'll switch it all over. Another thing might be, but I'm pretty sure it's not, because then it would still go pretty good, is this gasket in here is pretty crap, but it's not leaking or anything, so I think it's alright, but it's a bit deteriorated, but I don't think that's my problem. So I'm bored anyway, it's on holidays, so I'll just change it all over to the 2.5 and see if that works. If it doesn't, then I'll just keep working on it. Gives me something to do. So anyway, see you later. Okay, well I took the head off, and I think I found my problem. I think the rings in this piston are gone. So I'll change it anyway, because of that seal as well I'm not happy with. And yeah, so I think that's also a problem. So this engine has quite a few problems. So I'll use the other piston when I do the thing, which is the piston probably from that block. I can't remember which one's which. So yeah, see you later. Okay, I've changed all of it to the 2.5 horsepower block, and yes, no movement. I'm on the magnet part of the flywheel at the moment, and it's not sticking. Probably can't see the gap, but yeah, doesn't stick. It does move pretty hard, like it's hard to move, because I'm pretty sure that's because there's no oil in it, but hopefully that'll loosen up once I add oil. The crank is really tight in there. I had to like smack it in a bit with a hammer. I had to use the 3 horsepower crankcase because it's got a bearing on the actual crank. The 2.5 didn't have a bearing, it had a bearing inside the crankcase cover. Where do I have that? Yeah, see. Oh no, I didn't even have a bearing. It just had a bushing in there. So, I'll put the head back on and then chuck some oil in it and then see if I can get it started. So yeah. And she's running. Yeah. I haven't tuned the carby yet, so it goes shit, but I'll have to tune it soon. Well, it's been running for about 10 minutes now, and yeah, it seems to be going good. Oh, what do you know? Freaking dies just as I film it. That's great, isn't it? It takes a bit to start at the moment. Because it's a 3 horsepower crank and a 2.5, it's slightly bigger, so it has to wear in. So that will take some time. I think I already said that. But the 3 horsepower block, the actual seal where the crank went in, behind the flywheel, the seal was too big, and the crank was just going like that. And when it would get to the magnet part on the flywheel, the flywheel would just stick to the magneto, which would then make the spark crap because the spark works off the crank. The crank has like a little dip in it, and this little rod falls and goes up, which pushes that points up and down. And because the crank was going like that, which would make the spark go shit, which made the whole engine pretty much go crap. So now I've got the 3 horsepower crank in there, it's going good. Oh, that ran for about 10 turns without the spark plug. Shit, that was hot.